Hey friends, it's Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. Today I thought I would show you guys some of my thrifty finds that I picked up at an estate sale the other day. We'll start with this one. This is a Betty Crocker cookbook. This is like my unicorn. Whenever I can find this particular version of the book, I always scoop it up if it's at the right price. And the funny thing about this particular version of the Betty Crocker book is that almost always the spine is broken. Like this actually is in really good shape. I have bought them before where it's completely detached from the rest of the binder. I always look for cookbooks that are the binder rings. I always look to see that it's still usable, like you can still open it and stuff. If the binder rings have kind of pulled apart, which they will do with age, I usually can hammer them out or use a pair of pliers and kind of get it to be as even as possible. The thing is that my philosophy with my altered books and my journals and scrapbooks is that I'm trying not to create anything new in the world. The world has enough stuff as it is. And so I'm trying to reuse and repurpose and revive things and turn them into something new. So I'm okay if this isn't 100% perfect. I'm okay if there's stains and stuff still on it. I'm okay with this not being perfect, like it's brand new, came straight out of the factory. That's kind of my philosophy. And so people who buy my journals or who like my journals probably have that same philosophy. This isn't your brand new, shiny, straight out of the package art journals and art journal supplies that you would get like at a Michael's or a craft store. The imperfections kind of make it pretty cool. At least that, and that's my philosophy. And there's a lot of other people have different philosophies, and that is a-okay too. So when I have a book like this, I love the index cards because they make great pages in my scrapbooks and journals that I make. Of course, the recipe pages are awesome. I don't end up and use all of them. I don't put them all back into the book. I'll always put these back into the book, but I won't always put all of this back into the book. I usually pick 20 or 30 really nice pages that I feel lend itself to journaling. And then those will be the ones that I'll either sew to another piece of paper or glue to another piece of paper or add some embellishment or fabric to it, and then put them back into the journal. So just to kind of show you because I don't have any made right now, these are my big sellers whenever I go to a craft fair. These take a long time and I love them, but they go fast. So I have to make some more. I'm out right now, but I need to make some more. But let me show you what I use them for. So this is mine. This is I have several of these that are my scrapbooks. I just put my pictures and photos and journaling, anything that I would put in a scrapbook, I put into these books right here. And the reason why I like these is because I do not scrap in order. I am not a chronological scrapbooker or art journaler for that matter. So I love being able to open this and stick in whatever I want, and it's not in any particular order. I can take the pages out and work on them as I want, and then stick them in and add paint and all kinds of stuff. So I always try to take one of these to my craft fairs so that I can show people just how to use them. So this is one of the things I look for whenever I go to an estate sale. So another type of cookbook that I love is the old, just sewn in signatures cookbooks, and they're just very heavy. So this one is Good Housekeeping. So I picked this one up because it was the right price. What I look for is, I look at the cover first of all, and is it in good condition, and will I be able to clean it up? Then I look and see the spine. So how are the signatures sewn in? How is the spine? With this particular book, I could do one of two things. So I could take this book and I could rip out the pages, rip out about half of the pages. I'd have to find the middle of a signature, but I'd rip out about half of the pages, and then I could glue the remaining pages together, probably in 2s or 3s to make them thicker. And then this could just be a true altered book journal. Here's the thing with that. One, they take forever to make, because I barely make these for myself. That's how hard they are to make, at least the way I make them. So that's one reason why I wouldn't do that to this. And this one also, the paper is so thin that it really would require, even though it's matte paper and it doesn't have a glossy finish, it really would require probably 3 pages glued together to get them to a nice thickness that you could put some collage and paint and stuff on and not worry about it ripping the paper or going through the other side. So I could do that to this, and I have some that are similar to this that I have started like that, but I don't know, it just is such a long process. So when I talked about the signatures, this is what I meant right here. You would go in, old books were sewn together with thread. So what you would do is you would find the signatures, and this one has a ton of signatures. You can see all those. And so you would have to find the center, and then what you would do is you would rip out without trying to rip the thread, which I just did a really rough version. I would actually take more time if I was really preparing this book that way. But you would rip out about half the pages. And the reason why is because you want to get rid of the bulk, because you're going to go back in and add your own stuff, and you don't want your book to the spine to break, for this thread to pop out, and you just want your book to lay as flat as possible. So I could do that, but what I will do with this book is I will probably cut this whole text block out, and I'll just simply take my craft knife and run it through here, and then take this whole text block out. So then what that does is it gives me the cover, and I can now go back and pull out pages that I want to use, like definitely this one, because this is a handwritten recipe from a previous owner that I will absolutely want to keep. Pages that have pictures or illustrations, and so I'll choose what pages I want to go in the journal, and then I will add other papers and, you know, turn it into a junk journal, and then make those into signatures and then sew them into the spine. The remaining papers that I have left over, because there will be so many, I will use these as ephemera in my own journals, or ephemera that I can put together in little packets. I actually have a little plan of something that I've got cooking up for my Etsy shop whenever I have some time, but it's gonna be to get ephemera out to lots and lots of people and give it to you in a way that you can take it in and out of your journal very easily and not have to tote around a gigantic bag of just paper and ephemera, which is what I do. So I'm kind of working on that. So these papers would be something that I would put in there. I would also like die cut these. When people buy journals from me, I always give them a little envelope of all kinds of little just paper doodads and stuff, so I would probably put those in there. I just love the cover of this. So I snatched this one up. This was in 1970. So here's the deal. They never used it. It was not used at all. So this thing is pretty much the way I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna add a lot of other papers to it, some scrapbook papers, some pictures of some food and stuff of that 1970 time period. But check this out. So it's got the index cards, which I love, love, love. But then behind each index card is an envelope. Oh my God, that is like gorgeous, because I would put envelopes into this book anyway. They're already there, and they have this cool design, and it's from 1970, and I don't have to recreate something. It's already there. So this little journal or scrapbook is just going to be a jewel for whoever purchases it, because there will be so many cool places to tuck in photos, and maybe you want to make this into a cookbook scrapbook where you put in little recipes and stuff. I think it's awesome. So this one I'm extremely excited about. Like I said, I'm not going to do a lot of changing, just adding a lot of cool stuff to it, and of course adding some fabric and trim. But then at the back, I'm always on the hunt for vintage paper. So at the back of this was a whole stack of this notebook paper. that hadn't been used. So what I'll do with this is I'll just actually remove this paper, and this will now be paper that I use in all kinds of journals. I just have a huge stash, and when I'm putting together a journal, I just grab different sizes and different types of papers. And so this, I'll put some back in here, but then I'll use this for some of my other art journals. This is why I don't tea dye or coffee dye. I think that's a beautiful technique, and there's some fabulous artists that do a great job with it. They're already old papers, and a lot of them already have stains and stuff on them. Again, I'm not trying to create anything that isn't already there in the world. I just go ahead and use my already vintage paper. And if it's thick enough, I'll let it be on its own. If it's not thick enough, or it's brittle, or it's a little too old to stand on its own, I will glue it together and then stitch it together to make a nice thick page. This is like the holy grail of art journaling. At least it is for me. I mean, I love my cookbooks, but this is like, like this is like the heavens open up and angels sing whenever I find these at an estate sale. And if I can find one that has writing in it, oh, that's even better. So check this out. These ledger books were not only old, not only did they have writing in them, they had recipes in them. I think this lady was maybe writing a cookbook or making a cookbook, because it's full of all of these lists of recipes, and they're my favorite recipes because they're dessert recipes. How I would use this is I would cut out the text block. I would take the pages that she's written on, and that will become, you know, original, authentic ephemera that I will put into my art journals. The blank papers, I will put this in my blank paper stash, and as I'm making journals, I will just pull. These papers could go into several different journals. And then I will try to put, depending on what the theme is for this, that I make the theme for this book, I will try to put as many original pages back into this book and just add, you know, some other fun papers, some modern papers to kind of balance it out. A lot of times there's dirt, sometimes there's mold. I just take 4 parts water, 1 part bleach. I don't really measure, I just kind of eyeball it on a cloth, and then I'll just kind of wipe over it to get any of the mold and the residual dirt and stuff off of it. And then I always like, if they're like these where they're fabric and it's kind of thick, I will spray it with a sealant to protect the cover. So that's what I would do with that cover. All right, so check this one out. This one is like literally falling apart. This is all of her recipes. They're ones that she wrote, and then ones that she pulled out of papers, newspapers and magazines. When I do cookbooks and recipes, I always try to be really careful with what I think the substance is that's on the papers. I would not want someone to get a journal that has somebody's food on it from 50 years ago. That would kind of be gross. So I kind of have to see what I want to do with this. I may just cut this part out and use this paper the best I can. But she glued this together. And so she's got different categories, and she just clipped out paper, newspaper articles and stuff. Now you can see here's the newspaper that was, you know, several years old, and then this is what this type of paper will do to other paper. It will essentially it burns this other paper with the acidity. I'm not going to do anything to this. I'm going to let it be just the way it is. It's kind of a cool effect, but this, when you put newspaper or when you put papers in that are acidic, they will over time burn to your other papers or your photos. And so, you know, but when you're art journaling, you just kind of have to decide, is that a thing that's going to bother you? I know when I was scrapbooking, acid-free was the way to be. When I started art journaling, I was kind of to the point where I was just like, you know, I just want to get my art down, and I don't want to be held back by having to photocopy something and put it on acid-free paper and spray it with the acid-free spray. And who knows if anybody wants to look at my stuff 100 years from now anyway. I mean, probably not. It was all about the moment. I kind of just threw acid-free out the door. Now, if I have something like priceless photos and stuff, absolutely I wouldn't put it in a journal like this. But if I'm just playing and I'm just getting my creative juices out and doing my artistic thing, I am a-okay with acid burns from other paper. So I thought this was cool, this little fold out that she had right here. This would be a beautiful cover to a journal. This would also be a beautiful page in a journal. I mean, I could easily cut this out and then this could go, I could even fold it and this could be 2 pages in a journal. The blank papers, of course, will go into my blank paper stash and just find its way in all kinds of different journals. Then these little things right here. So what I've started to do with these is sew them into my journals, like whenever I edge the pages. So whenever I have a journal, I'll edge the pages with stitching. I usually put fabric or trim, and then I've started to stick these little things in also. Of course, I will put the journal back together, figure out what theme I want with this journal, put it back together, try to use, I'm pretty sure I'll use a cooking theme with this because I'm not going to do anything to this back page right here. I'm going to leave it exactly like it is. Right there amongst all of the cookbooks. I just loved this and the color. But then I got it home and I started looking, and this was like one of those little church cookbooks. You know, the people in the church will put together a cookbook and then they'll sell them at craft fairs and stuff and to raise money for the church. Well, this was an old version of that. I couldn't find a year on it, but here is what I loved about it. So I'm looking at these recipes and I start looking at all of these ladies' names, but oh my gosh, okay, Velva. Love that name. That is just the most beautiful name. Elvira, Margaret, Alma, Faye, Ruth, Mavis. Love that. June. I am obsessed with people's names. Mary, which is just such a beautiful name. Freda, Ethel, Gwen. I just thought these were just the most beautiful. Merle. Now, I don't know. Maybe Merle is a man. Maybe there are men that contributed to this. May, Rosalie, Helen, Virginia. I was going to name my daughter Virginia. She's very glad that I did not. Lucille, Elda. So I just loved Blanche. That's one of my favorite names. This is a nickname that we have for my oldest son. We call him Blanche. What I would do with this is, obviously I'll take this apart. These papers right here will become pages in journals. So I'll probably back them with another piece of paper. So you'd have the front that has these beautiful names and recipes. And then on the back, I'd put some plain paper so you could do some journaling. I'm gonna actually get a long use out of this because I'll be able to put this beautiful goodness into lots and lots of other journals and ephemera packs and stuff like that. That's just one of the hauls that I had at an estate sale this last week, and I just thought I'd share with you some of the stuff that I do with my vintage finds. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you have some awesome stuff or some awesome thrifty find tips, hints, tricks that you'd like to share with me, absolutely let me know. I always love to hear what people find at their estate sales and how they are able to incorporate these things into their journaling and their artwork. Guys, thank you for joining me today. Have an awesome day, and I will see you soon. Bye.